On, focus, focus. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Van Staal fishing reels. We're going to be talking about some good, some bad, and whether or not I think you guys should buy one. Coming up. And we're back. So, Van Staals, right? I've been fishing these reels for the better part of a decade now. This one, actually, in particular, I bought in 2009, believe it or not, when your boy was a wee high schooler. And I can say I've used this reel for pretty much every fishing situation that I've been on.
You don't even know he's hooked yet. He's like,
reel's coming off.
What is going on? Don't even know he's hooked.
Probably had this reel saltwater wise in my bag. I can say I have buried it in the sand. I have beat the crap out of it. It is absolutely covered in scratches. Had it serviced, gotten it back, put it through the ringer again, fished it underwater. You name it, I've probably done it with this reel. So personally, I believe that puts me in a place to speak intelligently on these reels, probably more so than a lot of people out there. First, let's go ahead and explain to some of you that may not know what these reels are and what they're really intended for. Van Staal is an extremely well sealed, the best sealed actually, spinning reel on the market. Now the reason for that sealing is to target a niche of fishermen that would literally swim with their reels. Striper fishermen from the northeastern United States would spend an extensive amount of time in the salt, in the elements, and they needed a reel that after a couple days of use in the salt and sand didn't turn into a corroded piece of junk. Now this reel has extremely high components, stainless steel gearing, extremely large main gear. Actually the size of this round piece right here is the size of the main gear. It's probably I think still the largest in the industry. And it's a very simplistic design that goes into the rest of the reel. But those high quality components allow them to get away with that simplistic design. The reels retail for right around $700 to $800, so they are considered a premium item for sure. So let's get into what I like about the reel. The Van Staal has lasted me, this one in particular, for the last 10 years, and I've absolutely beat the crap out of it. And I can't say that for every other reel I've owned in the last decade. I've beat it on the rocks, I've dropped it in the sand, I've swam with it and not washed it off for a week. So the reel has absolutely taken a beating. I have been an abusive owner, to say the least. There we go.
There you go. Oh.
And she's still kicking around, so that is definitely worth something to me. Originally, what convinced 15-year-old Ryan to buy the reel is the looks of it. And whether or not that's important to you, it's important to me when I'm spending a significant amount of money on something. I do want it to be aesthetically pleasing. I'm an absolute fishing reel junkie, if you guys haven't realized that already. And the aesthetics of the reel is very important to me, as well as the rod and other setups, but you can liken it to car guys. It just becomes a personal preference thing, and I think these are one of the best looking reels on the market. One of the biggest differentiators of this reel and most spinning reels on the market is the fact that this reel is bailess. Now, it does come in bailed versions, but I've actually come to be very fond of the bailess, or the manual line pickup, not having a bail. Even with high quality spinning reels, Shimano Stella included, I've casted plugs and had the bail close and either had the plug fly back and almost hit me in the face, or break off the lure, the expensive lure that I had on, and it just goes flying. It is nice not having a bail, and also just the ability to control the line manually is something that I feel like has made me more connected when I'm fishing artificials, believe it or not. I always have an idea of where my line is because I'm slowing it down with one finger and bringing it back to the reel. I feel a little bit more connected, and it really is a personal preference thing. I could completely fish the rest of my life without bailless and get the hell over it, but I have grown fond of the bailless fishing. except into the wind. That sucks. Regardless, never fish a bayless reel into the like 30-mile-an-hour wind. The line's gonna come off every time. And the last thing that I like about this Van Staal is it maintains its value. This reel that I've absolutely beat the crap out of over the last decade, I could still turn around and sell for $450, $500 for the right buyer. And that's pretty impressive, to say the least, for the amount of abuse that this thing has taken, and they still have value. Now let's get into what I hate about these reels. Number one is probably the most griped about thing about Van Staals, and it is the stiff feeling, essentially the force it takes to move the handle on every turn. Fishing this for hours upon hours, dragging a plug, absolutely tiring. Absolutely exhausting. Something that I got used to over a couple of years of using it. But if you're a guy that's used to jigging with something smooth like this Shimano Stella, look at that. Little flick of the wrist and it's just spinning like crazy. And then you pick up this hunk of aluminum and that's what you're getting. It's gonna be pretty obnoxious and you're like, I spent $700 on what? On what? The next thing is the actual design of the reel. Now, I think it's aesthetic as hell, looks beautiful, but in the bayless reels in particular, there is no clutch on the pinion. So the way it's designed, really the only thing stopping your pinion gear from spinning backwards when a fish is pulling drag from your reel, pulling tension onto your reel, is the pinion, which is the gear on the shaft, fighting against the main gear here. So, pinion, main gear. The only thing stopping that pinion from just spinning out of control backwards is the teeth of the main gear. So that design is absolutely a recipe for disaster. You're gonna be fine catching stripers, redfish, tarpon even, but fishing these for bluefin tuna or large amberjacks, vertical jigging all damn day, probably not gonna have a good time.
If you look down, you're gonna fall, you're gonna have a bad time.
We'll just show you guys real quick. Anyone who's ever had a Van Staal knows this. You see this back play in the rotor, this cup? That's just literally the pinion gear fighting against the main gear. If there was a clutch, it would actually prevent that and you'd be a lot better on my gears over the years. Stella, for instance, there's absolutely no back play in the rotor. Third thing I absolutely loathe about these reels is the drag performance. Drag performance is really that of like a $150 reel. It's okay, but it's not great. There's not a super wide range of settings. It basically goes from semi-tight to tight. You don't really have loose and you don't really have really tight. I can lock it down all the way, but it's literally just gonna be stickiness, just a disgusting pull and stop and then pull and then stop. Whereas something like a Saragossa, Shimano Saragossa, costs about half the price of this reel, has a significantly better drag, significantly wider range of functions, and it produces more drag at a consistent tension. Any reel, you can lock it down. Literally, as a kid, I remember taking an old Star drag reel and hitting the freaking Star with a hammer so it wouldn't pull out. That's not really what we're talking about when we're talking about drag settings. When I'm talking about max drag, I want to be able to have constant tension, smooth, or have the line be pulled against tension and have it smoothly come off the reel. That's gonna lead to no hooks pulled. That's gonna lead to not having the fish's face ripped off, and it's gonna lead to my line not breaking. That smooth tension as it comes off of the spool is really what you want. So these reels don't really operate in the higher settings, which you would really want in a $700 reel, normally. The last thing, and it's so annoying with this company, is Van Staal, being a small company, maybe that's why I'm gonna give them an excuse, but their customer service is trash. Just trash. They take months on average, normally about a month to get my freaking reel back when I send it in for a service. So, especially when I was growing up, this was my only big spinning reel. I used it for everything, and I would be out of a reel for a freaking month when I would get it serviced. Now, that's usually only every 2 to 3 years, but 2 to 3 years without my reel for a month, sometimes 2 months, and it would cost me $100 freaking to get it back. Whereas something like Shimano, actually solid customer service. You send in your reel, you get it back within a week usually, and you're only paying a small fee. Avid reels, another great example. You send your reel in, you get them back within a week, maybe 2, and it's a flat rate for a service, like $30 something. They will rebuild the entire reel if they need to. Van Staals, not so much. Let me show you guys something. This right here is all the stuff that I got back and all the stuff they had to freaking replace on my reel, but I got charged down to every little seal. And maybe it's fair for a smaller company to do that, but being the consumer, you just like to see better customer service, right? Is that, I don't feel like I'm being unfair because the competitors are out there just doing better things. And yeah, customer service, not great. Additionally, these reels, you can't really service them on your own. They don't sell the service. They used to sell a service kit, but you need specialty tools to take them apart. Now, I've done monkeying around and opened them up on my own before, but you're not supposed to. And it's kind of annoying because it's a simple design. It doesn't have 18 million ball bearings like a Stella. It's literally like a couple gears that I just would want to take the grease off of, re-grease, and maybe replace one bearing inside the reel. But they make it so you can't do that yourself because they just want to get a piece of you every single time that your reel needs a service. It's kind of annoying. It's fair. It's actually very, very annoying. So you guys have heard some good, some bad, bit of both.
Something good, something bad, bit of both.
Now, you're wondering, should I buy a Van Staal? And honestly, straight up, most of you, probably not. There's probably a better reel out there for you. Now, most people, when they ask me, should I buy X reel, there's probably a better reel out there for them, so that's probably not the best way to say it. But Van Staals, they have their niche. They are a tool in the fisherman's toolbox, but most fishermen will never touch it. They just don't need it. So if you're an avid surf angler, you're a guy that's probably gonna be dunking your reel multiple times. You're not fishing for tunas, you're fishing for striped bass, redfish, snook, tarpon even. But you're not just taking your reel on the boat. Like, you're taking it to the beach and putting it through the ringer with sand and salt and nastiness. Yeah, that's the reel for you. If you're a guy that spends 90% of his time on a boat, probably not. You're gonna get a better reel for less money for your situation. You spend $200 to $300 on a Shimano or a Daiwa or a Penn, and you're gonna get better technology, and you're not gonna miss the reel. They're not gonna look as cool, but you're gonna get better technology and spend less money. Are you chasing big pelagics in a boat? Probably not the reel for you, based on the technology that I was telling you guys. The anti-reverse isn't solid, the drag is it's not very impressive. Honestly, more power to you. If you are that guy that's using a Van Staal to go out and catch giant tunas, that's awesome, man. Let me tell you, absolutely awesome. And I can tell you that I've used mine for reels for fish that probably there's a better reel out there for. But wouldn't recommend that you buy the reel if that's your target. Honestly, guys, at the end of it, you can really do whatever you want with your money, and I'm going to continue to tell you guys that on this channel, but I just feel like I need to tell you guys because there are a lot of people that message me and ask the question like, wow, should I get a Van Staal? And most of you, probably not. Honestly, probably not. Some side information, because I know you guys are probably going to ask. This is a VS, the old school, the original Van Staal, and this is a VSX. So the VSX is the newer version of the Bayless reel. Essentially what they did is they made the drag a little bit better. There's a little bit wider range of settings. The drag clicks now versus the silent dog right here of no click. So you can make micro adjustments. There isn't a wider range of drag settings, to be honest, in my experience. The main thing that's really better is the line lay. So the line lays much more evenly, allowing you to cast better, cast further, as well as fit a little bit more line on your reel. So honestly, those are the main improvements. Is it that big of a deal? No. If I saw a VSX on sale for $700 and a VS on sale for $600 and I wanted to buy one, I'd probably buy the VS, to be honest. Some of you probably freaked out in the intro when I showed that clip of the inside of the reel, and that was actually this man's Staal, and I bought it at a discount because, unbeknownst to me, it was already broken. So what had happened was this side plate you see here had been stripped. Probably a manufacturer's defect, but essentially the threading on the inside, because the other side plate screws into here, was damaged, and it caused, when the reel was reeled against a significant amount of tension, that the literal side plate freaking ripped off in my hand. And I was blown away, but luckily, you know, good on man Staal, they warranted it for me. And even though it wasn't, I didn't have a sales receipt or anything like that, they warranted it and got the reel fixed and back to me. It just took freaking forever. I want to thank you all that have made it this far in the video. If you're still watching, I want you guys to comment below your favorite fishing reel, whether it is your dream reel that you've never used, or it's your old Penn spin fisher that your dad handed down to you and it's been in the family for 20, 50, 100 plus years. I want you guys to comment that below. And if you don't have a favorite reel, just comment something you liked about the video or something you didn't like. I really work off of your guys' feedback. In particular, this video, I'm really trying to focus on looking at the lens of the camera, because last video, I was looking at the screen on the camera and everyone freaked out. So now I'm gonna try and look at the lens. Make these videos a little bit better. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it a little entertaining, and I hope you found it a little bit informative. I don't want to get too deep into these technicalities because that just becomes boring. You guys just want to know, is the reel good? Is the reel bad? Maybe a little bit about why. And that's it. So, quick shout out to Reel Happy Co. It's actually a company based out of San Diego, California. They sent me over a box of some stuff, so I wanted to give them a shout out. Very cool company, very nice people. I'll link their website down in the description. You guys can check them out if you're interested in their apparel lines. I'm gonna go ahead and end the vid right there, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you all so much for watching. It's honestly, it means the world to me that you guys watch these videos. So I'll catch you guys in that next one. Later.